Education in Mount Healthy City Schools on April 11, 2022. It's a regular meeting, and this is a meeting of the Board of Education in public, and is not to be considered a public meeting. Could we have the roll call, please?
Certainly. Mrs. Anderson?
Present.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Present.
Mr. Kilgore?
Here.
Dr. Turner?
Here.
We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Every board member has had a chance to look at the agenda. Is there any additions, corrections? Want to insert anything? Okay. Then, could I have a motion to accept the agenda for today's regular meeting?
So moved.
Who's second?
Ms. Bryant.
Oh, okay. You got any questions or anything? Okay. Could we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
All right. All the board members have had a chance to read the minutes of the regular meeting on March 21st. With anybody have any corrections or additions to it? Okay, could I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Okay, any questions? Okay, can we have a roll call?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Okay, special orders, Mount Healthy Teachers Association.
There's nothing from the Teachers Association.
Okay, we got any communications or announcements?
No.
Okay. Okay, there's no Great Oaks Board meeting because it's not till Wednesday. So you get the pleasure of having two next
great.
month. Okay, legislation. I know we got a lot there.
Yes, we do. And actually, I was so close to having a non-report today because there wasn't really anything of much interest. And then I came across this and, oh my. So, House Bill 616, the one of many divisive concepts bills. State Representatives Mike Loychik of Trumbull County and Jean Schmidt of Loveland have introduced House Bill 616. This bill, if it becomes law, would affect all Ohio public school districts and all charter and private schools that accept state vouchers. It would, for grades K through 3, prohibit schools from teaching, using, or distributing any curriculum or instructional materials on sexual orientation or gender identity. In grades 4 through 12, it requires that all such materials be age and developmentally appropriate. The bill is closely modeled on a similar law recently enacted in Florida, but is not identical. The Ohio bill does not specifically forbid discussion of the topic of sexual orientation or gender identity. However, it does state that, quote, the state board shall establish a procedure in accordance with Chapter 119 of the revised code by which any individual may file a complaint against a teacher, school administrator, or school district superintendent alleging a violation of Division B or C of this section if the superintendent of public instruction finds that the teacher, school administrator, or school district superintendent violated Division B or C of this section. The Department of Education shall issue an injunction taking licensure action based upon the severity of the offense, including but not limited to an official licensure admonishment, licensure suspension, or licensure revocation. End quote. I know. The possibility of such actions would almost certainly have a chilling effect on classroom discussions when teachers have to fear the possibility of facing complaints that could result in them losing their licenses. The bill goes beyond gender and sexual orientation, including also the recent focus on the teaching of divisive concepts. The bill's text reads, "The school district board shall not select any textbook, instructional material, or academic curriculum that promotes any divisive or inherently racist concept described in section 3313.6029 of the revised code, which says, divisive or inherently racist concepts include all of the following: critical race theory, intersectional theory, the 1619 Project, diversity, equality, and inclusion learning outcomes, inherited racial guilt, any other concept that the State Board of Education defines as divisive or inherently racist." It goes on to state that schools covered by the bill cannot, quote, "teach, use, or provide for use by any student any curriculum, instructional material, or assignment designed to promote or endorse divisive or inherently racist concepts," end quote. They cannot, quote, "offer training or professional development to employees that promote or endorse divisive or inherently racist concepts," end quote. Although the idea that schools should not teach racist concepts seems obvious, the similarly vague wording in such laws in other states has proven extremely problematic. Much of the divisive concepts discussion has focused on critical race theory, which is not taught in K through 12 schools. The age-appropriate version, however, which would consider the realities of implicit bias in American society, could be construed as equally divisive, leaving teachers and administrators, as well as students and parents, unsure of where the boundaries lay. The prohibition of professional development training on such topics as diversity, equality, and inclusion, the wording that is included in the bill, makes little sense. And if that's editorializing on my part, not strictly a legislative report. And if districts are forbidden to use materials that teach these divisive concepts, what happens to the textbooks that include them? Do we replace them all with new versions the state deems politically acceptable? House Bill 616 is not the only bill currently under consideration that addresses these issues. It is just the most recent. I think something like 23 or 26 states currently have versions of one or the other of these bills addressing either the gender and sexual identity or the divisive concepts part of this. I think it's going to be more and more of them, and it's going to be really problematic for teachers and administrators as they try to sort out what this means. Again, editorializing until quite recently. I was teaching American history at the college level, and if you tell a history teacher they can't teach divisive concepts, how do you cover slavery? How do you cover, I mean, there's a lot that people are going to consider divisive. And if the wording of the bill doesn't define it any further than it did here, who decides what's considered divisive? And if parents can sue teachers, if parents can sue superintendents because they've decided that a concept is divisive, whoo, we're in for some interesting times ahead. So that's all.
Thank you.
But it says nothing for the people that all of this is geared towards. You know, they forget about the victims. That's all. I'll just use that term, victim. They don't think about those people and how they feel about things that are being said or done to them just because of this divisiveness they just set up. Should be interesting, like you said. It should be interesting.
Yep.
Anything else we want to discuss? Okay, we'll have a report of the treasurer then.
Thank you. You received your schedule of bills for February 2022, and I'd like to recommend their acceptance.
A motion, please?
So moved.
Ms. Bryant.
Okay.
Okay. We have a second, a first and a second? Is there any questions? Okay, do we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
And Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Item B is a recommendation to accept the financial statement for February 2022. I'd like to recommend its acceptance.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Ms.
Any
Bryant.
questions?
Okay.
All right, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
And Dr. Turner?
Yes.
And that's all I have for you tonight.
Okay, can we have the superintendent's report?
Yes, thank you very much. The first item is the recommendation to approve the Mount Healthy Junior Senior High School Program Planning Guide for the 22-23 school year. We just bring those each year to the board for approval.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any questions? I know you all read that book. Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
And Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Item B is the second reading for the recommended Mount Healthy Board of Education bylaw and policy changes, and those are listed below. Neola, we periodically update our policies.
Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Okay, any questions? Okay, could we have roll call?
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Item C is the recommendation to approve the purchase of 740 new Chromebooks from Tierney Brothers LLC as part of the life cycle management plan to support one-on-one learning with the district. The total cost is $208,909.40. This will be paid for with ESSER funds, not out of the general fund.
Okay, could I have a motion,
So
please?
moved.
Second?
Who's second? Oh, two. You got any questions? Okay, could we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
Thank you. Item D is the recommendation to accept the following donation. There's a donation of $500 to the Mount Healthy Athletic Department, specifically to the football team, from the Compass Community Church.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Could we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Anderson? I'm sorry, what was that? Oh. Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
And Dr. Turner?
Yes.
The next section is the consent agenda, and I would like to introduce one, and then Chuck, you're going to, Dr. Ogden is going to step in. We have Mindy Reichel. Mindy, you can just wave to everybody. Mindy is our new Director of Secondary Education. We are thrilled that Mindy has come to join us. She is coming to us from Lakota, and she has done some amazing work at Lakota. Mr. Kinzer, who she's replacing, is moving over to state and federal programs, and so Mindy will be working with the Teaching and Learning Department, and we are thrilled to have her join the Mount Healthy team. Dr. Ogden?
Certainly. We also have a recommendation on there for our Dean of Students at the ELC, Jane Sayers Cody. She is currently working at the Northwest School District and is on spring break. So we did everything remotely today. let's go get her. So we were very excited to bring her on board. We also have a couple other. We have a UC student teacher, Cameron Clarkson. She couldn't make it this evening, but we're really excited. She's going to be teaching 4th grade ELA and social studies at South Elementary as well. We also have Anna Rivera, who is currently student teaching from UC, that will be teaching 1st grade at South Elementary. UC, as actually Rosie and I were talking about this today, we snagged up a bunch of UC student teachers. They do a cohort model, so they student teach half a day for a full year. And even going back to my principal days, I have found in my career that I'm biased because we had this kind of, I'm not a UC person, I'm a Miami guy. They really come prepared and ready to go, and that has been a testament of time. So we're very excited to get all three of those teachers in. Also, we have Mr. Jason Sparks, who will be coming to us from Deer Park. He has a wealth of experience working, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's worked in Portsmouth City Schools, he's worked in CPS, and most recently Deer Park as an intervention specialist at our high school, and he will also be helping to coach football at the high school as well. So we are beyond excited. Oh, we have one more. Abigail Wilson, she's finishing up her student teaching in Indiana, so she couldn't make it this evening from Hanover University. So I have to give a thank you first of all to the board and to Dr. Hawkins, because recruitment and retention is a big part of my job, and I facetiously say, but I do mean it, I've literally been hitting the bricks, and our principals have done a phenomenal job. Dr. Wilson, I've drug her to a couple of job fairs with me to try and really meet the new crop of pre-service teachers, and also when positions come available to be able to get veteran quality educators in the district. So thank you. We hope we look forward to them. I have some lapel pins for them, and I want everybody to, I think we're pretty close to wrapping up, to stay, and I'd like to get a picture for you. There you go. Thank you very much. Absolutely.
Thank you,
Yep.
Dr. Ogden. The other item that I did want to note is a field trip at the end of the consent agenda. It is an overnight trip that will take place at the end of December for the basketball team. They went on a similar trip last year to Somerset, Kentucky. They will be raising money for this trip with some of their scrimmages and a variety of other things, but that is on the agenda for approval.
They're flying on
Bus.
Okay. That's a long way.
It is a long way.
Mhm. Okay, can we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Who's second? Any discussion on anything on the agenda?
Yeah,
I mean,
the,
on the consent agenda.
on the field trip for the basketball team, they're gonna be traveling by bus or van?
Bus, a bus. They're taking a bus down and riding the bus back,
Okay,
and
'cause
then,
I thought there were some issues last year, one of the years with the vans.
yes. So
Okay.
we're actually chartering a bus. So that's through a different company, and they're doing fundraising to pay for that.
Okay. Can we have roll call, please?
Certainly. Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant? Mrs. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. Kilgore?
Yes.
Dr. Turner?
Yes.
And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, I don't think we got any special orders. Anybody want to discuss anything? Okay. And I don't have no report for us. But anyway, the next meeting will be on Monday, May the 16th at 6 o'clock.
And I do want to note that will be at the high school. We will be honoring our retirees, and so we wanted to have it at the high school so that their families could come, and we'll be presenting them a small gift from the district and just recognizing their years. So far, we have 3 of our staff members that have turned in retirement throughout this year. We will have some appetizers available just before the meeting, starting between 5 and 5:15, so that, you know, families can get a little something, and we can just show our appreciation for our staff.
Okay. Well, is there anything else to bring before this board? If not, we are adjourned.
Great.
Do you want to
That was quick.
vote on it, or
Well.
just
Can we have
declare
a
it
motion
adjourned?
to adjourn?
Just one quick thing, I want to welcome you guys personally aboard, and if you have any issues or anything, Dr. Hawkins here is
Yeah.
more than willing to help out.
Definitely.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Okay, who's gonna second it? Ms.
Okay.
Dave Kim? Just any discussion about that? Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Thank
Anybody
you.
opposed?
No.
No? Okay, motion carries.
Well, that's another record one for the books. Wow.
So, are we going to Brotherton's for dinner, or is anybody going to dinner?
I might go if you go to Brotherton's.
I don't care. We've got plenty.